Hi there, you found Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars podcast. Thank you so much for clicking on episode 20. I'm one of your hosts, David Amladi, and joining with me is one of the other three hosts, Jesse Buck. It seems like it's a survival of the fittest thing going on here.
Well, Nick is recovering from whatever mental stress ailments, and David G is on a secret mission.
A secret mission.
A secret mission.
Codenamed Best Friend's Wedding.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we want Nick to feel better. We want David to have fun time on his trip. But Jesse and I are holding down the fort, and we have so much to talk about because obviously we know that New York Comic Con is going on. We've had a lot of, I don't want to say rumors and leaks, but that's kind of what they are, is hinting at the future. Let's say that. We have a lot of hinting at the future, and we're going to uncover that right now in Real Talk. Real Talk is a segment where every week we talk about everything that's movie-related, right? So it can be the standalone films, the saga films, even the 2008 Clone Wars theatrical release. We talk about it, and the first topic is John Boyega calls Star Wars Episode 9 The War to End All Wars. Now, before I go on any further, Jesse, I got to shout out StarWarsNewsNet.com. We always talk about them. They are the best aggregator of Star Wars content, and they are bringing us several stories this week, including this story, which we're getting from New York Comic Con. And special shout out to John in particular, because this man is giving some great looks at all the fun things happening at New York Comic Con. We are obviously not in New York, but
I'm kind of jealous of that.
But we're able to enjoy it. Great finds from John. And if you want to catch any of those, be sure you find him. John Hoey is on Twitter. That would be the best place to find him. First topic, like I said, though, John Boyega says that Episode 9, The War to End All Wars. And this information comes from New York Comic Con, where Boyega was promoting his new movie, Pacific Rim Uprising, coming soon. And that he recently says, over the New York Comic Con weekend, I don't know anything about the script, the story. I don't know where Finn's going. I don't know where Rey is going. But I definitely feel this is the war to end all wars in this movie. I'm interested to know how he will handle that. I'm asking so many questions, and I haven't had the chance to kind of sit down and write to J.J. a message just to say congratulations, and I'm stoked. My fixation is that he needs to get some sleep and gear up, because we're doing another one of these movies. But I think he's going to do a great job. As always, he's JJ. I think what's fantastic is it feels like it's coming back full circle. Now, that's something that we've talked about before already on the show, is that it's coming full circle with JJ finishing what he started. Here's my question to you, Jesse, though, is the war to end all wars. Is that ultimate culmination happening in Episode 9? Do you think that John is onto something with this?
If he's onto something with it, and if he's referring to anything, it would have to be this war between the Sith and the Jedi. That is, I mean, you look at everything, the EU, what's going on. This is a war that's been at times it's been a Cold War.
Now, what do you mean when you say the EU? Because the EU doesn't have any factor into the new canon story.
With the EU, it's always there. You look at the Old Republic game. That's a very big part of the storyline for that game. And even though I'm surprised that's not considered canonical, truthfully.
Well, here's my thing.
We're gonna send a letter on that.
Here's my thing. He says there is no script yet for Episode 9.
Yeah.
I am so excited to think that John thinks this is where the story is going based on what he knows about Last Jedi, and we haven't seen The Last Jedi. I just can't see this being the war to end all wars in Episode 9. When Disney has taken this thing over in the last 5-6 years, they are going to do another trilogy. They're going to do an Episode 10, 11, and 12. This is not going to... I can't see this being the war to end all wars. I can anticipate a really epic battle. I can imagine an incredible saber battle that is going to take the life of Luke Skywalker. I can see these things, but I don't see it being the grand battle, because there's going to be another trilogy after this. Whether that's with Rey, 10 years down the road, or it's a completely different generation. I don't know. I think it's a bold statement, and I think it's something to get people fired up. And I wonder if being in the moment of Comic-Con got John Boyega really pumped. Like, he's promoting that new movie, and he's pumped to be there, and he wants to get the fans excited.
Wouldn't you? I mean, just being around I've been to a convention.
Listen, I would love for this to be a grand ending to this trilogy. I would be really happy with it because that would be completely different from what we got in Force Awakens, and that would, I think, avoid the issue of Episode 9 repeating a few of the beats of Episode 6. I would love that. I'm not trying to bash it, but I'm trying to keep myself calm here. And I'm trying to think pragmatically here because I don't know, okay, so I don't have it in writing. I don't have Disney saying in writing, but I have a lot of confidence. There's going to be a fourth trilogy here. So maybe not the war to end all wars, but I am so down to have a large-scale, you've never seen a battle like this in the Star Wars galaxy for Episode 9.
You know, whatever happens, I'm going to love it. It's Star Wars. You know, like, it's just the truth. I mean, look at the prequels. People can knock on it all they want,
right.
And when it comes down to the end of the day, I love the prequel movies, too.
Well, you know what?
You know,
thank you, John Boyega. I appreciate you getting my blood pumping in this moment. Even if I don't agree with you yet, I hope it's a spectacular finish in Episode 9. But, of course, we have not yet seen Episode 8. And Episode 8 is the topic of our next topic here in Real Talk, and that is The Last Jedi, set to be the longest Star Wars movie to date at 150 minutes. That's according to Cineworld. The Last Jedi clocks in at 2 hours and 30 minutes. Jesse, what's your reaction to finding out that runtime exists?
Well, I'm already calculating cost of how many times I'm going to see this movie. Also setting aside all the time, you know, because I'm pumped. That's 2.5 hours worth of action. Star Wars, wholesome goodness. And I'm excited about this movie because just everything we've seen leading up to this point, this is going to be a great sequel and a great follow-up to The Force Awakens, and I think this is going to be a fantastic part of the story.
We talked about Rian Johnson really having no issues on his set or in the writing process. It's, from what the public knows, is he and Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm have gotten together, and a 2-hour, 30-minute movie is exactly what I want. The longer the better. You know, I hate the argument that long movies can't have success. Lord of the Rings made it happen.
Totally happened.
Especially the Hobbit trilogy, which was hot garbage, and people still sat through all those films. So we have an opportunity here, I think, with this 2.5-hour movie to have some real fun. And there's a lot of fleshing out that I think Rian Johnson has to do in this movie. So I'm okay with him taking a little extra time. I believe this is only 8 minutes longer than the previous longest Star Wars movie. Would you think, 8 minutes? What's 8 minutes? 8 minutes can be a lot of time.
There is a lot that can happen in 8 minutes in a movie. That's numerous plot points.
And especially when you're thinking about the different stories that we're going to have to learn, right? Because we're going to have Rey and Luke. You're going to have Rose and Finn at Canto Bight. You're going to have Snoke and his introduction. You're not going to get a lot on it, Snoke. We know this. But we're going to have to meet him. We're going to have to see the man in the gold robes on his ship.
Well, I mean, all the different... You mentioned Rose. That's another new character that we're going to be seeing. DJ. This is a character that's still kind of hanging out in the underworld. We don't know much about any of these characters. Poe Dameron, you know, I mean... We see him in the that trailer and everything.
Is he assuming... He could be assuming Leia's role in the Resistance.
You know, like... What we see of him is the last we see him, there's a huge explosion right in front of him. You know, so it's just, there is so much going on already just from that trailer. That makes me even more excited for the trailer that's dropping this week on Monday. What are we going to see? What, you know, is it going to add more characters, or, you know, like, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
There's so many questions this movie has to answer for us.
And in case you didn't catch it last week, that's when we went in depth about what we expect to see in the Last Jedi trailer, that second trailer that's coming out, and also what we want to see in it. So obviously this episode is this week's episode. We'll have a special short, though, probably a reaction video to the trailer when it drops on Monday, so be sure you're looking out for that. Let's jump to our third topic, because we mentioned the Snoke element, right?
Yeah.
Snoke is going to be a character that we're going to have to spend some time with in The Last Jedi, and we have a new publication that's come out that confirms Snoke's Force powers, and the reason why Kylo wears his mask. So, confirmation that Snoke can use the Force with abilities in telekinetically throwing and choking people, and telepathy. The last one is important for those who have read the novel, because it's hinted that Snoke tries to tempt Rey into killing Kylo Ren after besting him in single combat. I didn't mention it about like 3 minutes ago, but I totally threw the spoilers logo on screen. So we're cool. We're cool.
Spoilers.
Yeah, with these stories, that tends to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you know what? You hear that Snoke has these force powers. You know, to me, this is a little surprising because I kind of was like, yeah, he probably has some force sensitivity, but to hearing this in depth and hearing it confirmed, it's kind of like hearing it all for the first time and not having those speculations. What could Snoke be? I don't know. I guess I just don't want to let go of the idea that Snoke could be Plagueis. But Jesse, when you hear that he has this telepathy, what do you think of that? Do you think that's going to be critical to the movie?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where what we know of the Force is that there are some individuals who are more adept at lightsaber combat, and then there are those who are very strong and very talented with the Force and everything. So they focus more on Force powers, the best way, I guess, to put it. So I'm expecting potentially Force lightning. I mean, if this is Plagueis, potentially, that's who I'm still leaning towards. Seeing those abilities kind of makes sense because we saw those abilities with Palpatine, and look how powerful Palpatine was with them.
Right.
So if this is the master and everything, then it's kind of scary because how much more powerful is he? Especially on a telepathic level, if he's communicating that way.
But I would like to see
intense.
I would like to see how that's different from like Vader and Luke and Empire communicating via the Force. You know what I'm saying? Or is that the same thing?
I think it's probably what they're talking about there is that it's the same thing. Like Leia, hearing Luke call out for it. When he's dangling at the bottom of Bespin. At the same time, what you mentioned though, encouraging Rey to kill Kylo, kind of reminiscent of Palpatine wanting Luke kill him. Kill Vader, kill your father, kind of thing. So
now, of course, we don't have that confirmed. That is a plot detail, so that is a rumored,
definitely a rumor
tip. So we want to be clear about that. But nonetheless, very excited to see how this all plays in. And I'm still in the mindset that, and this is based off of a quote that Rian Johnson gave, is we're going to get some interaction with Snoke, but he's not hashing Snoke out. I think that's something that is being saved for Episode 9.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's something that Abrams is going to be fleshing out. Speaking of Rian Johnson, let's lead into our next topic here. Is he confirms that there is an A-Wing leader, Tali Lintra, played by actress Hermione Corfield. That is such a British name.
Yeah,
wow.
Definitely.
It's a new character. There's not a whole lot of information available about this character. We know that the base on Dakar gets evacuated, and the protection for that evacuation comes with A-Wing Squadron commanded by this new character, Tali. And Rian Johnson confirms that Hermione is playing this character. There's a couple images that have surfaced on the internet. Again, StarWarsNewsNet.com has some of those images, and it's just cool. We're going to get another new character. This is a younger character, a female character, and excited to see some A-Wings get some love because I would say the A-Wings and the B-Wings are two ships from the original trilogy I wish I would have gotten a lot more out of.
Last time I saw an A-Wing in the movies it was spinning out of control through a Star Destroyer, so...
Well, and those were the cool ships, though, right? Because A-Wings, you knew that they were fast, they could dart through defenses, but they maybe didn't have the best agility in space combat, which is kind of a problem if you're a ship in space combat.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of those ships have gotten a little bit more love, like in Rebels. We see a lot of A-Wings in Rebels. The B-Wing is introduced in an episode in Rebels and everything.
That's right.
I'd
Get
love
the Hammerhead Corvettes, too.
Yeah, I would love to see these ships more. It's a nice variety instead of just seeing your basic TIE Fighter or X-Wing or something.
And I'm thinking, and I had to do some more research in there, but I'm thinking that maybe the A-Wing is a more cost-effective ship for the Resistance. Like one of the things I liked about the U-Wing in Rogue One is that we learned that the Rebels didn't have a lot of them because they were expensive, but the few they had, they put to good use, right? And that's why we didn't see them in the originals.
The U-Wing kind of made me think of like a helicopter.
Yeah, kind of. It's very
like the side doors, kind of
Yeah.
reminiscent of like like a dropship helicopter thing.
It always reminded me just of an X-wing on steroids.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But I liked that ship. It was a nice concept and everything. And I would love to see maybe some of those, potentially in the newer movies. I know they can't really put those.
Yeah, that's like a 30 or 40 year jump in timeline. But yeah, great ships, and I guess going back to your original point is great to seeing the A-wing getting some love. Mm-hmm. Here's another new character that we're gonna latch on. Here's some more merchandise. I'm sure it'll be a Black Series figure. I'm sure that we'll get Hermione's character in a few. Tali Lintra. What a great Star Wars name. Let's jump down to the next topic. I wasn't lying when I said at the beginning of this episode we had a lot to discuss in Real Talk. Donald Gleeson is, of course, General Hux on The Last Jedi, and he is speaking out about J.J. Abrams taking over Episode 9. And, we debated about this. Do we put this up after what we talked about with John Boyega? But we thought, this happened a couple of days earlier in the past, so let's touch on it here. And he did this interview with Collider, and it was pretty good. He goes, when I read the script, I needed to talk to him immediately. And I think that's always a good sign. I was like, wow, there's some stuff there, which is kind of not scary, but different than what I expected. And that's a really, really nice thing. I think that's a really positive thing. I think that's important for those films that we don't repeat ourselves. And wow, that last sentence says so much to me because of all the concerns that Force Awakens had after by some fans. And again, I would say like 9 out of 10 people loved that movie, no complaints. But the people who did have some concerns was that it was repetitive of New Hope. Well, we're hearing from everybody.
You know what wasn't repetitive from A New Hope in that movie?
What?
Gleeson's speech to the First Order troops.
Well, that's true.
That scared the crap out of me.
It was almost too much. Like, it was over the top for me.
No, but I mean, like, it was so reminiscent of actual real-life historical events that we've seen. This is a character I want more of. In novels, comics, and at the very least,
well, let me hear what you think about his words, though, about how excited he was about The Last Jedi script. Is this giving you more excitement to go see this movie in December?
Yes, 100%, because you hate the character because he's a bad guy, kind of sense, but, like, I love Gleeson's performance. Like, he nails this character to the point of, like, if this was an officer, this is somebody to fear. Like, if anything, I was more intimidated by Hux than I was Captain Phasma.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I would agree with that.
As far as the movie goes. So even still, I want to be... Phasma's got a lot... I know that book came out. Now, Phasma's got a lot to prove to me because you got thrown down a garbage chute. Okay. You should have put up more of a struggle there.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. I like his honesty. I like the excitement that he shares in this quote. And I'm excited for it. I would be interested in the fact that Hux is a character that's dealing with the arrogance of Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren has his own objectives that don't fall in line with the First Order. And he's having to run and talk to Snoke about these concerns. And I get the impression that maybe that Hux doesn't feel like a priority with Snoke. That Kylo Ren is still like this shiny trophy. And then Hux just has to do all these side things. And I'm really interested in seeing how Hux's character develops. He doesn't confirm whether or not he survives to the episode 9. No one's commenting on whether or not they're in that movie because obviously we need to see episode 8. But I would wonder if Kylo Ren isn't redeemed, which I don't want to see. We haven't really talked about Hux. Like, we've seen people go from I don't know, have we really seen people go from, like, that high in the Empire or the First Order and then switch sides? Like, how big of a curveball would that be? Because in Rebels, we obviously get a character that goes from the Empire, and he's actually fulcrum within the system.
The thing is what we know from the Aftermath books, we meet a very young Hux. Right. And everything. So, 30 years later, look at, what we know about the First Order. It's a cult, right, kind of thing. So to some level, he's very much passionate about the training program that they have for the troopers. I imagine the officers are maybe just as intense and everything.
So maybe he'll stay in all the way. I just was
I,
curious.
I don't. Yeah, I just don't think he's gonna
Get disenchanted.
flip a coin kind of thing.
Well, I hope he's in it because, like you said, I think his performance is great.
Oh,
and
top notch.
It is because you hate him, but that's the point. You're not supposed to like that character. You're not supposed to like Hux.
He sent chills through me during his speech. If you watch this podcast, Gleeson, you sent chills through me.
I hope he's watching. You know who sends chills through my body? It happens about twice a week. Ron Howard, because this man is just a PR genius, and he knows how to listen. He is your number one source of news for the Han Solo movie, and he's done it again, folks. He recently tweeted out a photo with him and Thandie Newton from the Han Solo set, and Ron Howard, he's just crushing it. This movie comes out in 8 months, May 25th, 2018. Still don't think it's going to happen, but he says it will. And he's there taking a photo with Thandie Newton, and this is so nice because, obviously we've covered in the past how some characters had to be taken out of the story because of scheduling conflicts. Thandie Newton's able to come back. You're maybe thinking, man, maybe it was really important for Thandie to be back. What could that role be? What could that role be? There's a lot of speculation that she's playing Ray Sloan. And that would be thrilling to me. Ray Sloan is a character that was introduced, I think near the very beginning of after Disney bought Lucasfilm. And she's just a very strong female leader with the Empire. That's right. I almost said the First Order. I'm like, that's the wrong era of Star Wars we're talking about. But she's a very advanced leader in the Empire. We learn about her in Lost Stars. We learn about her in the Aftermath books as well. And so a very strong character that we've wanted to see on screen. Just not sure how you would make it happen. Han Solo seems like the right era to maybe you drop her in, a younger one. But nonetheless, you're just excited to know that production is getting that much closer to being ended. Jesse, how do you react to all this? I'm throwing a lot out there. I'm kind of splurging with my excitement.
I think Ron, there was a lot of damage done to the credibility of the film and everything. Yeah. So I think
when you came to the directors after 6 months of production, and then you replace them.
Yeah, so I think he's doing a fantastic job on damage control and trying to restore enthusiasm for the film. Obviously, I've been up and down with this. You've kind of witnessed this. I'm kind of I'm at a good point right now. I'm excited about where he's taking it. A month and a half
ago, this guy was on the show going,
cancel it.
Don't talk to me about it. I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah.
Jesse, even after the episode, got mad and was like, I'm tired of talking about it.
I didn't want to talk about Han Solo for a long
changed.
time because it was just it was so much negativity. Part of it was I was worried about it, impacting how I,
how you view the character.
How I view the character. Am I going to want to go see this movie? I didn't want that ruined, and that was part of that. But now I kind of feel like we're at a very positive point in the PR. And then, they're doing things to kind of add more depth and lore. And I think that's
8 months to get this movie
done, a lot
of
credit,
though.
To Ron.
Ron is a miracle worker. I'm not doubting Ron Howard, and I never have doubted his directing ability with this. But 8 months to get this movie done and production is still underway. That man is a better man than I. Let's check in on the last topic of Real Talkin'. As always, if you have any thoughts about what we talked about so far in the show here during our segment Real Talk, be sure you're commenting down below if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on iTunes, send us a tweet later at BTBD_podcast or just use the hashtag beyondtheblastdoors. Topic number 7 is Ezra and Sabine take a stand in the latest trailer for Season 4. And now this was only about a minute that they shared on social media, but I thought it was pretty well done. It's the 4th and final season here of Star Wars Rebels. It begins again on October 16th, in case you didn't know. And it's Ezra and Sabine standing with some Mandalorians and some nice voiceover. And Jesse, what'd you think about it?
Oh, boy.
I'm so ready for this. You're seeing a lot of Mandalorians get disintegrated.
I don't know what there's so much excitement, for me, I'm not done actually analyzing, that trailer because, it strictly focuses on that.
Right.
One scene in particular that's really stood out to me was Sabine trying to pick up a armor plate, which just, I saw this trailer today, Well, I was working on armor plate attachment for my own cosplay, so like I'm kind of like holding one of the exact chest plate, and I'm watching this trailer, and this thing crumbles. And the heartbreak that you see almost immediately, like she knows, like this is, I hope, because she mentioned she designed weapons for the Imperials,
right,
and everything. So I mean, there's a lot of guilt
that weapon being used against her people now,
and
possibly
it's making me wonder if, because besides from Boba Fett, who isn't an official Mandalorian according to lore now, from Filoni and George Lucas, this could explain why we just didn't see more of them in the original trilogy.
Culture gets wiped out.
If they're basically, just kind of off and hiding kind of thing. I'm worried, but I'm excited.
That's your angle, and I love that. I guess what I was looking at more in this trailer was Ezra and the fact that he's taking that stand with Sabine. I don't think this requires a spoiler, but this might be a spoiler. In that trailer, we do see Sabine take a shot. And we've had a conversation about what characters we expect to see survive Star Wars Rebels and the ones we expect to see down. And in case you haven't seen it already, we do have a couple videos on the YouTube channel right now where we talk about Ezra and what we expect for him for Season 4. If he survives, what could happen? If he doesn't survive, how does his death come about? We also talk about the Loth Wolves and the Lothal Wolves and how they impact Ezra as well. I like seeing him lightsaber ignited. He is going to fight there beside these warriors, and that really makes me, if he goes down, he's going down with a fight.
I don't think we're going to lose Ezra in this battle. Truth be told, I think we're going to lose Sabine.
Well, since we see her take a shot, I think that's kind of like what people are dropping in her head.
She's united the people behind her. I mean, that scene, she climbs out of the trench, ignites the dark saber and everything. She is leading an army and everything in a very intense battle. And I think at this point in her life and her story, she's ready to die for Mandalore. And that's one of the greatest things a Mandalorian warrior can do, is die for her people. And so in some ways, I would see that as a redeeming, because she feels so much guilt over what she did. That would be kind of like the redemption thing for her, like to give her, people courage and hope. And
as long as it's well written, that's all I care about. And I'm just saying, October 16th, get here. Give us the Last Jedi trailer on October 9th. Give us the premiere of Season 4 of Rebels on October 16th. I am so about this fall Star Wars season.
We're like just so much Star Wars going on this fall.
That's why we do a podcast.
I know,
right? That's how we do it. Okay, that's going to do it for Real Talk. That was a blast. So much. 7 stories we crammed into this week's segment there of Real Talk. And now we're going to dive into pages, pixels, and pieces. And, of course, we got to start with the Battlefront 2 beta dropping.
Yeah.
So it happened where, if you pre-ordered, you got it a couple days earlier than the rest of the world. But we've both been able to play the beta. You get the theme map when you're playing in that multiplayer verse. And I guess let's just kind of start with just an initial reaction. It's a little different for you, Jesse, because you've had more exposure to the game, being a Twitch affiliate. But now I feel like you can talk about more things, because this beta has now been opened up to the world.
Yeah, I definitely feel, in comparison between alpha testing, there's definitely been, because in alpha testing it was just the theme map, where you didn't have Starfighter or the 16-man game. I can't remember the name of the game mode, because it seems like not a lot of people were playing the 16-man game. It's kind of tucked away in the corner.
It is. I was just playing the multiplayer that I was playing. That was sending me to Theed every time.
Yeah, so you got Theed, the Theed and Starfighter icon. They're right in your face. This is kind of off to the side. But in general, in comparison, from alpha testing to now, class balance seems a little bit better. In alpha testing, the heavy class was definitely overpowered. The LMG or the heavy blaster rifles were kind of really accurate. They had a lot of damage output. They were basically really tanky and everything, and everybody was using them. They're not as strong. They're still strong, but they're not overwhelming. The assault class plays really well. If anything, they kind of feel a little bit more durable compared to alpha. what I have been doing, the specialist or the sniper, you do a little bit of once you kind of rank it up and everything, get some of the proper star card, tribute cards and everything, and unlock the second rifle. You can actually purchase a mod for it that turns it into a 3-round burst.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's just it almost plays a little bit similar to, maybe a little bit more reserved than the assault class, but it's kind of like right behind. So that's what, like today when I was taking a break from cosplay work, I was playing a lot of the specialist. It was a lot of fun, and I was racking up a lot of battle points. Battle points, if you don't know, are used to unlock certain special units. For the clone army, it's a rocket trooper.
Right.
They've got a jump pack, a pistol, and a rocket launcher. A lot of fun to play. You can unlock a Wookiee, just a random, not Chewbacca or anything, but you got a bowcaster and a thermal imploder. And if you played the previous Battlefront, thermal imploders are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're seeing some additional things that you can unlock it and feed and everything. The biggest surprise for me, and I was a little bit hesitant about the starfighters, because the only in alpha, the only use you get to use of any of the starfighters was, assault on feed. This beta, we actually have an actual space battle, very structured. You have objectives and goals and everything. The ship balance is there. That was the main concern for me. It doesn't matter if you're playing an X-Wing, the TIE Fighter is the same. If you're playing an A-Wing, the TIE Interceptor is the same. Yes, they have a little bit different perk abilities and everything, but overall, if you're getting into an actual dogfight with somebody, you're not going to, one ship isn't going to outturn the other kind of thing.
I love hearing
really
you talk
awesome.
this way about the beta, because obviously the beta is not the final product.
It's not. You can still expect changes.
But hearing you talk about your play during the alpha, you seem to have a stress about being, you're like, oh, well, if this is what they got, this isn't that much better. But to hear the leap in tone is really satisfying to me, because I'm not someone who played a lot of the 2015 release. My experience with Battlefront comes with those older versions of the game that I love so much. And so not having that experience playing the 2015 game, coming in and playing the beta for the last, at this point, 24 hours, I'm in love with it. Visually, I guess that's what I get into. I want to get immersed into that world, and visually, I love it. Last week, you touched on the fact that the MTT, you get down on the ground, you're seeing the heat resonate from the
There's some
street.
changes even with that. So, I'd like to point out, in alpha, you couldn't run underneath the MTT. You can run underneath it in beta.
Beautiful.
So I guess it wouldn't be heat in that sense, because if you're being torched, from running underneath it, it wouldn't be good.
So it's like the wind, or
it's like
dirt
propulsion and
stuff?
everything. The other thing I noticed too is the MTT progresses, like the leaves. You see leaves being kind of blown around.
Right, that's how it would happen in real life, right?
Yeah.
So it's just that realism that exists is really good. And then as far as being playing, I felt it was super user friendly. I'm a PS2 player going to PC, and I was really nervous about what that would be like, because I enjoy PS2 controller way more than my hands on the WA and F, or is that the right keys? I don't know.
WSD and.
Can you tell me to this PC? Yeah, we have Nick Stewart. I live with Nick, and every night he yells PC Master Race. I'm trying to join. I'm trying to do the best I can. But no, I think the beta is sweet, and it gives you just the right amount of content to wet in the whistle, so to say, before the major drop.
Yeah, just like I said, again, a lot of major improvements. Just having the different classes within the game adds a whole new dynamic. It's basically you find your play style, what you're good at. Some of those attribute cards, they do kind of cross over. Some of the other classes will have them. But it just feels better. There's a lot that carries, if you take Battlefront 2015, they took the best of that, but then they really listened to they did in fact listen to fan feedback and improve the game.
It's a big payoff.
Boba Fett's a lot of fun, of course.
We got a text 2 days ago from you with Boba Fett flying in the
sky.
sky.
I think I was streaming the first night, with it, because I pre-ordered and everything, and it wasn't the greatest kill streak, but I knew that I was going to get a couple good kills with his rocket barrage ability, which is a lot of fun to watch visually, and it's scary to be on the receiving end.
As long as you're happy, we're happy. And it was a fun text to get. That's going to do it for that topic. Still so much more in Pages, Pixels, and Pieces. I know, dude, I'm telling you, this episode is awesome.
Too many
much content.
Really exciting. Like, there's so much to cover.
Nick and David are missing out. Dude, this is so much fun. Hey, you know what? We talk about how great THRAWN is in Star Wars Rebels, and I've talked about how much I enjoy the THRAWN novel. I still have a chapter to go because life derailed me.
I still need to read it.
You have to still read it. I bring this all up because breaking news out of New York Comic Con is the fact that we are going to get a second THRAWN novel from the man, Timothy Zahn. It is confirmed that it's going to be THRAWN Alliances, and possible spoiler here, you have fair warning, possible spoiler, he's either having an encounter with Vader or he's teaming up with Vader on a mission.
All we saw off that Twitter was that we were getting this second THRAWN novel, and then it was basically like a ... and Darth Vader's in there. Just, wow.
Listen, I had to back away from the table. I'm really excited about
this.
And
Timothy is a busy man here, like a whole nother book. I just found out today that he did some co-writing for Star Wars The Old Republic for some of their upcoming content, which involved the Chiss. So if you're a Chiss fan, check it out.
Pay off there, too.
Yeah.
Here's my thing about this is we obviously don't know what that book is really going to be about, but I love that first book so much because when I was reading it, it is a slower read. You know this if you've read the book. It's not an easy book to get through. You're in the mind of THRAWN. Every chapter starts with you're in his mind, almost like he's meditating.
He's a very slow, calculating individual, very cold.
But I loved it. Like I loved it, and it's such a more intense representation of that character than what we get with Star Wars Rebels. Because THRAWN in Rebels, you're trying to stretch him out over season 3, and he's having to let the Rebels get away, and he's having to be a little bit more meticulous. And you gotta keep doing this whole cat and mouse thing. But no. This is THRAWN in the first novel. Excited to get to see what he does in the second novel, and of course, excited to see what he does in season 4 of Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
It's gonna be thrilling. Staying with the Pages concept here in the segment, Darth Vader number 6 dropped last week, and my goodness, it was, I think, an exceptional issue. Jesse, I know you haven't been able to read it, so are you going to be offended if I give a little breakdown of what this is about?
Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to warn you, this could be considered spoilers. I forgot on the first time we had a spoilery type story, so now I'm going to say it every time just to protect myself. But this is our introduction to how Darth Vader gets introduced to the Grand Inquisitor. And it is such a well-done story. And now you get implications of this because you're just looking at the cover of this issue, and it's the Grand Inquisitor there in the background, kind of looming over. Beautiful cover, by the way. Giuseppe does a great job on this comic run. He really does. And, of course, with Charles Soule's writing, it's a perfect marriage. But it's this great thing where Vader is recovering from his battle. Not just recovering from the battle, but, he's got the crystal to bleed, but his suit needs repairs. There's a sequence where Vader is repairing the suit with the Force, and then Emperor Palpatine puts this plan into motion where there's an intruder into the Jedi Temple, and they are going to the archives trying to get information. It just turns up that, the Emperor tells the Grand Inquisitor one thing, tells Vader that's an intruder into the Jedi Temple. These two start igniting their red lightsabers, and they're battling in the library, in the Jedi Temple library. And Palpatine ultimately reveals, I was setting this whole thing up. Vader then learns that there's not just this one Inquisitor, because he's like, Grand Inquisitor, what? There's a slew of these Inquisitors, and they have this like training arena, and it's it's just so great. And of course, we're building up to the next hunt because we know that there is a target that Darth Vader's going to have to pursue here in the next couple of issues. And to me, Jesse, I talk about this a lot because I think it's important for people to keep in mind. You're getting rewarded with this series time and time again.
Yeah.
If you invest yourself in other elements of the canon. You watched Star Wars The Clone Wars, okay? And then you watched the Rebels series. And you meet the Grand Inquisitor. And then you turn out to learn that he was actually a Temple Guard. That you saw in the Clone Wars. and then you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that one scene where that one guard was. Yeah, and it's. But now here's the comics tying into it. Now the comics are going to give you like a little bit of an origin story about the character. Now you're learning that the Grand Inquisitor was not just a temple guard. At one time he was a Jedi Knight, and he actually felt not utilized by the Order. And so it wasn't hard for him to start doing the Empire's bidding because he felt failed by the Jedi Order.
It's an interesting concept because, like, I would love to actually read or see that story as of some capacity, because what did Palpatine do? Did he round up certain Jedi in hopes of maybe turning them to the dark side? You know, I mean, I kind of feel like this is what happened with these temple guards. Like, okay, kill these over here, but these guys, if you can, don't kill them, kind of thing. Like, if possible, like, I want to know more about that.
You know, Vader, you know that Palpatine had a plan, and I don't know if this is fair to use in this situation, but you know with the Battlefront 2 trailer that we got, that Palpatine had a plan for if he died, and he never really thought he was going to die. But he had that plan in his back pocket.
Somewhere in that, yeah, I mean, we learned this from the Aftermath books. At some point in time, he goes, you know, I think I need like that emergency axe in the glass case, because, I'm just the layering. Like, it's just like if you watch everything else, read what you need to, like, this story just blossoms.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. So, yeah.
I haven't told you everything about this comic. If you have not already, I want you to go out, find this comic book. No, I'm gonna make you buy the issue. I have the issue. I read it once and I leave it.
You're
back
gonna
and forward.
buy it.
Yeah. But go out there and find it at your local comic book shop, because it's such worth the read. And you know what? You think to yourself, you know, David, every week you get on here and you talk about this Vader run, and you say it's great, you know, but you don't have anyone verifying it for you. You know what? You go reach out to Alex the Comic Hoarder. He will tell you how great this comic is. He watches every week, and he listens to us rant about how great it is, and he totally agrees. He follows the series, just like me and you.
When we started this podcast, I was not a comic guy. No. I told you this. I said I watched the movies, the anime, and read books.
Mm-hmm.
Comics, I mean, part of it was growing up, my parents were like, you know, no, comics are just not worth it, kind of thing. You know, like, they were like, if you're going to get a comic, just get a book.
Right.
You know, like, so, like, just, this has kind of been, like, a new experience for me, and this has been a fantastic series for me to, like, actually, like, appreciate comics.
It's so
like,
beautiful.
I see them in a new light.
Yeah.
And especially with just the writing, the artwork, and everything, it's a fantastic series.
I'm so happy because you're the second person I've gotten in the comics. I got Gilbert in comics a couple years ago, and now I've got you into it. I'm really happy about it. And by the way, when you have some free time after you've watched this episode, in its entirety, because we want you to watch the whole thing, check out our YouTube channel, because David and I just did a new kind of video for us. It was a top 20 comic book covers video. So what happened was Alex, the Comic Hoarder, who I just mentioned, tagged us in his video and showed off his favorite 20 covers in his comic book collection, and then asked us to do the same. So David and I sat here on the set. We did the same thing. There are a couple of Darth Vader covers that make my top 20. I want you to go watch that video. I want you to find out what those covers are, and then comment whether or not you believe they deserve to be in my top 20. But it was a lot of fun to do, and there's more Star Wars on the way. In fact, I have a J. Scott Campbell variant cover of a certain Star Wars issue that Jesse has seen, and we won't tell you what it is of, but it is worth it.
It's sexy.
Oh, it's sexy, and
it's
going
sexy.
to be in the next video. So be sure you're looking out for that video within the next 6 days. It's going to be a pretty sweet reveal. Hey, listen, would you believe that we have one more topic in this segment?
Really?
It sounded like it was time for the next one, but it's not. It's the New Forces of Destiny. We have the 4 new episodes. We have them.
I haven't watched them, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, gosh.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, go ahead.
Part of it, because if they're going to do more, I mean, since these have all kind of, like, they're short.
Right.
I would rather just kind of sit down and watch, like, a crap ton of them in a row. So I'm going to kind of let them pile up a little bit.
I kind of like how they distributed it this time around, where you got a couple of the older episodes and then you got a new one. Made it a half hour. And that was nice. I will tell you, that's not how I watched it. I can understand why that's been enjoyable for people. I've been doing some reading online. They like it. I like how they pop up on the YouTube channel and I can watch them. The 4 we get are Ahsoka teaches Padme how to pilot the They just fly through space and they get attacked by a droid starfighter. You have another one later where Ahsoka's learning how to fight with her 2 sabers when she's sparring with Master Yoda, which is kind of cool. Rey has to find a tracking device that's on the Falcon on their way to Takadana.
Okay.
It's kind of lame. And then Sabine and Ketsu face off against stormtroopers on a mission. Becomes really complicated. And, it's a thing we go back to every time, and I'm just going to be respectful because, like Nick says, his mantra, I'm not going to turn away free content. It can be part of canon, that's fine. I'm just not going to include it in, my preferred canon. Not saying you have to make rings of canon. Let it be for the kids, and I'm going to let it stay for the kids. It's kind of cute. It's kind of fun. I kind of did like the Rey and Han dynamic because you have the older Han talking to Rey, and you're getting more of that buddy kind of relationship. So that's enjoyable. But you can check those all out. They're on YouTube, and let us know what you think in the comments below. If you've already watched, and let us know for sure. Send us a tweet, comment below. Let us know what you think about that. But 4 more after this that we're going to get with this second wave. So be interesting to see what those 4 are. Time for Stash and Blasted. We're moving right along here on this episode. You know what? We're 46 minutes in. We've covered
a lot. That's a lot.
Ram Koda was almost in Star Wars Rogue One. Now you're thinking to yourself, I've heard that character name.
Who's this Ram Koda?
I knew that name even before David butchered it. He was a character in The Force Unleashed. He was a blind Jedi. And of course there's some elements that I think get adopted and molded into what we get with Chirrut. But getting Ram, that character from The Force Unleashed, Jesse, just for those in case you haven't experienced The Force Unleashed in games, which that's a bummer because they're super, super incredible. Just your 15-second description of who the hell Ram is.
Ram Koda was a Jedi Knight who did not trust clone troopers at all. So if you play the game, you know that he's got his own rebel force. He's been doing guerrilla war tactics, on the Empire. Obviously, to kind of bait Vader out. He wants a confrontation with Vader. And in the first part of the game, sorry, spoiler. This game's been out for a while, so I'm not.
It's too late.
You should have played it by now.
Yeah, right.
It's still a fantastic game.
Oh yeah, and it ages well.
Anyway, the character Starkiller shows up. They have a duel, and Starkiller ends up in a very. If you've watched Rebels, you know how Darth Maul blinds Kanan. It's the same way, and if anything, actually, I would actually connect Ram Koda to. And similarities more towards to Kanan.
Oh yeah, okay, Kanan. I see where you're going. Okay,
because just overall the artwork, they share kind of the same facial profile.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Kanan ends up becoming blind and learning to see, via the Force. Ram does the same thing. So there's a lot of similarities between those 2 characters. I would have loved to have seen him added in. Or even just a mention, kind of like what they did with Captain Syndulla, just something like that to kind of, tip of the hat, because the voice acting, the storyline for those games were fantastic. And George Lucas actually considered the basic storyline for those games to be canon. I'm not sure why Disney cut them out.
Would have loved to see this, though, because then I think it gives a lot of those fans the hope that they're going to make that canon or we'll bring those characters back in. And remember 3 weeks ago we talked about on the episode how we almost got Starkiller back as an Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels and how incredible that could have been too. So you know that the storytelling group is trying to bring these elements back into play,
if they fit. It's one of those things. Look what they did with
THRAWN. Priority. That's what we always say, right? It's always number one priority.
Yeah, look what they did with THRAWN. THRAWN was EU, and he took place after Return, but they found a home for him. There's still hope.
So, do you stash it or blast it?
I stash it because I would have loved to see him in the movie. At the very least, I would love to see him mentioned in some capacity just to give some credibility to the voice actors and just that game.
I'm gonna stash it as well because for all the reasons you mentioned, just an incredible game. If you haven't already, you know what? You have a month and a half before Battlefront 2 drops officially. about that time.
Yeah. Make a weekend of it.
You could get Force Unleashed 1 done in that amount of time. No worries there. Let's jump down to one of our favorite segments, Cosplay Cantina. And this is where we're highlighting Robert Lamella, who is a Kanan cosplayer.
Speaking of Kanan.
Yeah. How convenient is that, right? And Robert's a really cool dude. Lives in Vegas. He's a bartender, and he has several different cosplays. He has a Darth Maul. He has a Boba Fett. I forgot to mention that last week.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you know. Well, I'm pretty sure you follow this guy already on the social media, right? This guy's pretty active.
Honestly, I mean, I'm horrible at following, people back. But I mean, like I've seen all his other cosplays and everything, and they're really good.
We're gonna focus a lot on his Kanan. We'll probably show off Darth Maul next week. But as you know, every weekend we showcase a different image of our cosplayer of the months. And so you're going to see another image of Robert in his Kanan this week. And I just want to share a quick little excerpt about what he's trying to do right now, and the fact that he's most proud of his Kanan costume because he did most of the work on himself. He loves Kanan as a character, and it's his favorite Jedi so far in the Star Wars story, which is so crazy. He wants to get involved with the Vegas Twin Suns costume group, which is a branch of Rebel Legion. Jesse knows all about them. Yeah. And he also wants to get involved with the charity work around town. So he's just really excited. The fact that he has a cosplay now that he feels that he can go out and troop in, and he can do some really good, some good work with. And that's, I think, something that I love so much about the 3 cosplayer of the months that we've featured on our show already, is the fact that these are people who don't just like to assume personas. They really like to get out and get involved in the community. And so we've had some where they've been very involved. I think of Rebecca and Stephanie. These are 2 cosplayers that are well established, and they're traveling across country doing this. Now here's Robert, and he's kind of starting up his journey, and that's pretty cool.
Dave, what you'll find, and I've noticed this a lot with just Star Wars cosplayers in general, is the fact is that it's such a large fan base, and that they've organized to the point. I mean, it started with the 501st, the Rebel Legion. You've got the Mandalorian Mercs now. 3 very large Star Wars cosplay groups, and you get on there and you're like, I want to do this, how can I do it? And you're going to have people actually help you and guide you to it. On top of that, all 3 of these groups do charity work, and anytime you ask them, like, what's one of the best things, and it's putting the smile on, you've become the character, you start being that character, and it brings joy and happiness, to people. And in a world right now, I mean, I'll say it, we live in a very just bad time. This brings joy to people when they need it the most.
Star Wars in general.
In general, yeah.
Bring joy to
so people. Just our 3 cosplayers, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great, because I'm jealous because I don't have the opportunity to go as many conventions, so like go forth, and just
go forth and spread the goodness. And to all the cosplayers who have not yet applied for Cosplayer of the Month here with Beyond the Blastdoors.
Get your cosplays in.
All you gotta do is email us. beyondtheblastdoors@gmail.com. Send us a bio of who you are, why you cosplay, and your 4 best cosplay picks. So send that our way. Before we go on to Fan Comlink, I gotta brag about Jesse. Last week...
I've been a busy bee.
Yeah, you have been. Last week we talked about his D20 blaster, the D200 that he's still working on. That old Republic era blaster. This week, though, Mando Fury's got some new armor. It looks pretty sweet. We got a video, not a video, but a photo up here on the screen. If you're watching with us, if you're not able to watch and you're listening, no worries. We've tweeted and we've Instagrammed and we've Facebooked the crap out of this armor because it's sweet. Jesse, what are we looking at right now?
What you're looking at is, so a couple of weeks back, I enlisted the help of my brother to make a duct tape mannequin of my upper torso.
Is there a video of that?
No.
Oh, darn.
I'm sure it was an awkward time. This is a kind of a common practice, especially when it comes to if you're dealing with potentially armor or trying to fit something as best as possible. But I mean, a real mannequin is ideal, but if you're trying to do things on a budget, this is how you do it. Basically, so I've got my new flak vest. I had a flak vest tailored to my measurements, and I need to attach these new armor plates that I made a couple months back. This is kind of a tedious process because the spacing between the plates has to be, spot on. In my previous versions of my kit, I have done strictly Velcro attachment. Now I'm starting with Velcro with this just to kind of get the plates on there.
Okay.
What I'm going to be going back and doing is adding heavy-duty snap buttons, and what those will do is as your body moves around or something, with just Velcro, at some point in time you got to kind of do a spot check. How are my plates doing, kind of thing. By adding the heavy-duty snaps, they'll stay in place. I won't have to take like a moment to, okay, is this, are my plates crooked or something.
Right.
They'll maintain the proper positioning on the vest, and overall it's kind of like that they're going to stay in place.
They look super sweet, and so it looks like you've done a paint job.
Yeah, the plates are already painted up and everything. I went from 3mm Sintra plastic to 6mm. I've got basically all the upper body armor is 6mm. And it was a lot of fun because there was a lot of imperfections on my first plates. This was an opportunity for me, using my experience that I accumulated to correct these, make them right.
Well, it looks super sweet. And if I can say, I'm proud of you, man. I love seeing the joy that it brings you, and I like that you can bring this information to those who listen or those who watch. So I cannot wait to see the finished product. You're going to be my Christmas card this year. I've already decided. It's going to be you in front of a tree of lights, and it's going to be you in
I've been
Fury.
procrastinating on this because it's a tedious process. It takes time because especially either you're sewing the Velcro on or, for me, they're kind of a temporary thing. Once I get the snap buttons on there, the Velcro, I'm basically using industrial strength Velcro, which doesn't really adhere all that well to fabric. And so I'm adding glue, fabric glue with the adhesive that's on the back of these strips. And I kind of discovered that it does a fairly decent job of just staying on there.
When you have this completed, we need to have you sit down and just break down your armor.
Well, that'll be the first test, just in general. That was one of the things I tried to tackle was just comfort.
Yeah.
The ability to sit.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's
important.
So if I can sit down and everything, add two thumbs up, I'll be completely thrilled.
Sounds good. Let's jump into the Fan Comlink. The Fan Comlink is brought to you by you because you're the one that's asking us the question. And our question this week comes from Mark S., who emailed us. Usually this is where we take Twitter questions, but Mark S. hit us up via email, which is fine. You can email us at beyondtheblastdoors@gmail.com. But he asks us, I enjoyed the episode that you discussed the possibility of Darth Vader appearing in the Han Solo movie. Since we know Han was once a stormtrooper, could the movie begin with him being a stormtrooper and perhaps being in a unit dispatched by Vader? It could even be on Kashyyyk, where he could have a Finn moment and defect, saving Chewbacca. Jesse, how about you go first? What do you think about the chances of... Now, here's my thing. In the EU, Han was in the Imperial Academy, right? And he went through the ranks.
Well, I saw this question today. One of the first things, when you sent out our notes and everything, the first thing I look at are the Fan Comlink because...
It's always the most fun.
Potentially... we get a really complicated question that requires explaining.
Right.
So just to kind of clarify a little bit of old information, old EU information, Han was not a stormtrooper. He was a cadet in the Imperial Navy. Okay. And the only thing that I couldn't really seem to find, I seem to remember growing up that he saved Chewie from...
Yeah, that's the whole life
from
concept.
Slavery. Okay. What I was able to dig up today... that was a little bit different from that was basically he was being told to execute Chewie, who had stolen a ship to save Wookiees that were being, sold into slavery. So it still deals with slavery in the sense Han still saving Chewie. But just to clarify, he was not a stormtrooper. He was in the Imperial Navy, a cadet in the Imperial Navy. So
now, that's not to say, though, that in this new canon, in this new untitled Han Solo film that's 8 months away from theatrical release, we still don't know the actual name of the movie, there's nothing to say that they could be making Han a stormtrooper to start off this film. And then he defects, and that's where we meet his mentor. And then he has to learn how to smuggle and sweet talk.
The only thing, either he leaves, if that's the case, because, if he understood how Imperials work or how Stormtroopers work, okay, then, for example, I think he would have been more comfortable answering the emergency call in the detention block on the Death Star.
Good point. Good point.
Okay, he was very awkward over that comlink there. So I don't think potentially he was a stormtrooper.
A little hot and bothered in that moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
now it's always kind of been a run-on joke. He's like, I know a few fancy moves, we can outrun him, and he kind of flying at an angle.
Right.
Okay, to me that tells something. Okay, Imperial Navy, he was probably more something to do with flying. Okay, he could have been a pilot possibly. So, I don't know. It's a good point. The images we have seen. We've seen a lot of Imperial installations from that set. Highly possible. I do want to see that moment on film. But
I think this is awesome, and I talked about it towards the very beginning when we started doing this podcast. Is I was concerned that this Han Solo movie might be trying to show too many things. How Chewie and Han met.
Yeah.
How Lando factors in all this. How the Falcon got transferred over. The Kessel Run. That's a lot of stuff to throw into one movie.
In terms of the question deals with what do we think about Vader and everything, and that potential interaction. Again, look at the movies. You have to look at the movies, especially A New Hope. Look at how Han reacts to seeing, Luke training with the lightsaber. Hokey religions, Okay, so why would he call if he's seen Vader, he knows what Vader can do, to some degree. I don't think he's seen,
Unless they do something silly where, like, Vader's there and he just doesn't use the Force or he doesn't use a lightsaber.
I guess, but you would hear these rumors,
Right.
kind of thing. So it just really depends. I have to give credit to David Gilbert because he kind of had a more plausible explanation for seeing Vader in the film, because maybe this is a little bit more of a backstory with Lando. Where again, like I don't want to see that close interaction between Han and Vader. It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't, to me, be a smart move canon-wise.
I agree with you, but still, nonetheless, Marcus, thank you for sending in that question, because
thank you.
I think that's an awesome question, and I love these questions where we can dive into saying this is what new canon is, and this is what happened in the EU, and here's how maybe it influences the new canon. I just think that's a great conversation because it still all works like that, even though the EU's not connected. I don't know, I just like to nerd out about it. It's fun. Great research. Well done.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's my favorite part, honestly, of the podcast or the Fan Comlinks. Because
so make Jesse happy, and whenever
keep
you
those
have a Star Wars
questions coming.
question, tweet at us at @BTBD_podcast. Use the hashtag #BeyondTheBlastDoors. If you want to be like Mark, you can email us, but tweets are nice, and you can do that whenever you have time. Either way, you ask us a question, we'll answer it. That's the fun of this show. That's why we do in the first place. Before we leave, stay on target. We have our targeting systems. They could lock on to anything. And now we're keeping in mind, we do new episodes every Monday, so that we know when our episode drops, we know that it dropped on the day of the trailer. So we're going to have a bonus segment that we'll separately release where we're going to break down what we saw in the trailer and what we think we're going to see in the movie. But let's not let that trailer be what we lock our targeting systems on, Jesse. What are you most excited in the week ahead in the world of Star Wars?
For me, I mean, obviously, a lot of Battlefront is going to be going on up until they close it out.
Close it out on Tuesday of this week, right?
October 9th.
Yep. It's on Monday they close it down?
Probably late night, yeah.
Okay.
Late Monday night, probably Tuesday. Tuesday in the gaming world is kind of the day where server maintenance and things happen.
I got you. Things I learn. I'm not part of it yet,
So yeah, Battlefront in general. I have been diving hardcore into one of the latest Star Wars books, Star Wars from a Certain Point of View.
The 40 Short Stories book, yeah.
This has turned out to be such a treat. I strongly recommend it. I'm not even I feel like I haven't even put a dent in it. 10 out of 10.
Awesome.
Just fantastic. And I kind of want to go back and I have an e-copy. I want to get the audiobook because I want to hear all the voice actors read these.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Because I feel embarrassed, but I had heard of John Hamm before.
Right.
Okay, and I kind of like that but it didn't really connect
Right.
with me until I actually saw Baby Driver the other night.
Oh, great movie that he's
Great
in.
movie.
A movie that should have done way better at the box office.
So now like he's like really in your face in that.
Right.
So kind of like when I was reading that chapter and everything, like I was just kind of like trying to picture, him in the helmet and everything.
And he does the Boba story, right?
Yeah.
He's Boba.
I think he did. I think he did a couple other ones for the book.
Yep.
I'm not. I know he does Boba for sure.
Yeah. Well, I figured that was the story that you would be talking about.
So
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds really cool, and I need to pick up that book myself. I'm gonna get the hard copy this weekend. I'm gonna put my targeting systems on the fact that I go visit my LCS, which my local comic shop is like 2 hours away from where I live. But nonetheless, I get to go down there and get to visit them, and I'm going to do a little hunting. I'm looking for a couple Star Wars variants, and so hopefully I can track those down at their shop. They're always really good, and they try and hold things for me in between my visits. So looking forward to that, and we still need to build those lightsabers. We'll figure that out.
We're getting there.
We're going to get there.
Cosplay stuff is
a nice
also
day of weather. He had to put together a full set of armor and a blaster, and that helmet is not being touched. The helmet is staying the same. But nonetheless, I just say thank you so much. This was a great episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, whether that's you're listening to it on your drive, maybe you're at your home, maybe you're watching by yourself, maybe you're enjoying this episode with family or friends. But thank you so much for joining us. Episode 20, I think, is definitely a success. And as always, be sure you look out for our new episodes that drop every Monday. Sometimes, if we're able to get them out sooner, we'll drop them on Sunday, but you can always guarantee that new episode will drop no later than about 2 p.m. Central Time on Monday, and then you can enjoy that for the whole week. So thank you so much for joining us. As always, be sure you find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have not already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Right now, at the time of recording our episode 20,
192?
193.
193.
Right, 193. Help us get to 200. If you can, tag 5 people you know and have them subscribe to our channel. When we hit 200 subs, we're going to announce a pretty big giveaway. Really excited about this, and it's going to be our push to get to 500 subs, because our goal is 500 subs by the end of this year, and I think we can make it happen, but we're going to need your help.
Yeah.
We're going to need your help. Jesse, I think it's time for us to go play some more Battlefront beta.
Well, probably it was tough. Pull me away from this. I mean, I was just kind of like.
Well, I don't want to waste any more time. That's what we're going to do. I have to go get my computer set up. We'll see you soon.